So here's a sitch on the ATL box score today. We first get into my March Madness sports bar experiences, and they weren't all that good. Then, since it's our recapping the weekend show here at the ATL box score, we have Mr. Ned Kasich on the show to talk about the tournament, all the things that went down. We even, at the end of the conversation, have some points that we talk about the Tom Izzo situation with Michigan State and how that all went down. This is the ATL Boxscore Podcast, Atlanta's newest sports podcast, and you're listening to Recapping the Weekend. With starting a new podcast, people ask me all the time, Alex, where do you record your show at? Do you do it at your house? No, I don't do it at my house because of just a lot of different logistical factors. The place that I do it at is actually a place called Spaces, Midtown East. And Spaces is a co-working center where I get my show recorded and I get other work done. Co-working has been one of these new phenomenons in the private business sector that has popped up recently. And Spaces also has another brand called Regis, which is more of a professional brand. Spaces is more for creators like myself. But to tell you more about these special brands in the business world is Mr. Steve Choi.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate those kind words. We absolutely love having you and ATL Boxscore as part of our space. It's always great when we see you doing your work. But absolutely, Spaces and the Regis concept, we are both workplace providers here in the Atlanta area, but all around the world. We have over 250 Spaces locations worldwide, plus over 1,500 Regis locations. And what we're really here to do is just provide flexible options for any type of professional, whether you're an independent professional, creative, or if you're a large or small business. So we have several different types of options from small to large and memberships, part-time, full-time. So definitely come on out and check us out. Go ahead and look at the link on Alex's site and ask for Steve Choi. And if you ever come into one of our locations, let us know that Alex sent you or ATL Boxscore, and we'll go ahead and set you up with a free 5-day test drive.
Yeah, you can't beat that 5-day test drive. In those 5 days, you will know if Spaces or Regis is the right brand for you. And Spaces is all over the place. They're a little bit more limited, but they're in the main areas of the city. The one we are is right in the heart of Midtown near the Fox Theater. There's one at the Battery. There's going to be one opening up North Point Mall there. And there's also a location in Colony Square. So they are all over the metro area. At just about any major business building in the Atlanta area has a Regis in it. So just Google them. But Spaces and Regis and Steve Choi in particular is your place to do your business. So we just want to welcome you guys back to the ATL Box Score. Hope you guys had a good weekend, friends, and really interesting. Well, the NCAA tournament I feel like was entertaining at the least. No huge upsets, no people like George Mason going far this weekend, but at the same time, you got a lot of good headliners, teams that made it. I feel like Kansas was, if you're a Kansas fan out there, you're probably disappointed that you see the Auburn Tigers advancing. So congrats to them, and all the Blue Bloods except for Kansas are still in the tournament. All the 1 seeds are still alive, but also too. Yeah, so that's
that Duke game was pretty
that Duke
crazy. Did you watch it?
It was. I mean, I just saw like the end of where they like tipped it in.
Oh my goodness, that was a good second half.
Right. Well, we get into that a whole lot more with Ned Kasich. He gives us his thoughts on that because we're having Ned Kasich on, our college basketball guy. But yeah, that game was crazy. I mean, you also had like Virginia on Friday that was down.
Yeah, that was a close game too. Yeah.
At halftime, and then they just waxed the floor with them.
What about Tennessee? Went overtime.
Did that game go on?
Yeah, almost lost to Iowa.
Yeah, Tennessee hasn't shown their dominance recently since they lost the SEC tournament game.
Oh, yeah.
Since they lost the championship game in the SEC tournament.
We'll see.
Yeah. This is like the home stretch of the interesting. Well, it's the home stretch of the Hawks right now.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to the playoffs and they're actually playing really good. They're playing decent ball.
Sure.
For the Hawks.
Spreading their wings.
Right.
Showing what they can do.
Showing hopefully what the future looks like.
Potential, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Then you also have the Atlanta Braves who, for the next 3 games, are actually going to be played at SunTrust Park.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's usually what they do. They'll end their spring. Oh, I think that's how it goes. It's like if you start off with a homestand, and your opening day is like the first weekend this season, then you have to play like 3 exhibition games on the road to end out your spring training.
Okay.
And then if you are if you have to play on the road, then you get to open 3 exhibition games at your place. And that's what the Braves are doing this week.
Very cool.
Then at the same time, the Braves actually got to play in their new spring training facilities. And those look really, really nice.
Sweet.
So, well, this is our Recapping the Weekend show. I'm Alex Berger, and alongside me is Steve Choi. So be sure to, if you like what you heard so far, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We would definitely appreciate that. We're ATL Boxscore. We're Atlanta's newest sports podcast, and we are all over the social media world, so follow us on social media. But, you know, buddy, if you know me, that to watch sports on my own, alone, is a little hard for me to do. I have to be a part of an environment, or it's like I have to have something that's like a main distraction, like I'm doing work or something like that, and I'm watching a Braves game.
Makes sense.
Unless something's on the line. Like I watched Game 4 of the Braves playoff game. Because that was critical.
Yeah.
I watched Georgia games by myself. Even some Tech games. The games that are, but it's like a regular season Braves game, or a regular season Atlanta United game.
Yeah.
I have to watch it either at a sports bar or with my friends.
Nice.
To be engaged. That's
Sure.
just me.
Okay.
That's just me.
Okay.
Like, I can watch these sports documentaries all day long.
Right.
But for some reason, when it comes to actual games.
Or like with Atlanta United, as long as there's like a NASCAR race playing at the same time, you can watch it alone.
I like my options too. I like watching multiple screens.
You're right. Right.
Yeah, because I was over at your place and the NASCAR race.
That's right. That's right.
Kyle Busch fan?
I am not a Kyle Busch fan. I respect Kyle Busch. He's an awesome driver. He obviously can drive the wheels off that thing, but no. But
Okay,
anyways,
that was your political answer. Okay, anyways.
Yeah.
So
We'll do a NASCAR segment someday.
So to watch this tournament, because remember on Thursday we were together and I was just like, no, I think I'm gonna get a beer.
Sure.
I think I'm gonna get like a little snack.
A snackety snack.
You know, the pre-dinner.
Yeah.
You know, so you won't be like
right, like some wings or something.
You won't when you show up, you won't be like raging drunk at your house.
Right.
So that kind of just
that
kind of subdues that.
Right.
So with my past experience this weekend, I had good service, terrible service, and I can't believe I showed up here because you guys are just way too stinking busy, and you gave me okay service.
Okay. So break it down for us.
Well, Thursday, when I wanted to get a little drink on.
Drink.
I go to Sports and Social in the Battery.
Ah, nice place.
Because we were doing some stuff at the Battery.
It's a great time. Just the start of the tournament.
And it was like all of Comcast just decided that it's like they weren't going to work that day. I mean, it was wall-to-wall busy. But at the same time, it's like they were prepared for that.
Of course. I would hope so.
I was always...
Any place called Sports and Social better be prepared for the tournament.
I know, especially if you brag about, like, the tallest TV in the South or whatever it is.
Oh, is that what it is?
Have you ever been in... Oh, you've been in there with me.
I've been in there. Yeah.
But you've seen how big that TV is.
It's huge.
It's huge.
What games do they have on that?
They had a bunch of games, but it's like the people that were there were more like the... They were, that small school up in Tennessee that's in Nashville. It's not Vanderbilt. Belmont. It was Belmont playing Maryland.
Oh, wow.
And Belmont had a chance. And, that would have been an upset.
For sure.
But
the service there?
Service there was good.
Okay. What do you qualify as good service? Fast?
For that
accurate? For
that particular venue, they were prepared. They had enough staffed. Like, good is that it's like, to me, good is the standard of what service should be. And
meets your expectation.
It meets my expectation.
Doesn't necessarily go above and beyond, but it meets your expectation.
Doesn't go above and beyond, but at the same time, they had a lot of people.
Sure. Okay.
I mean,
so even though it was a crowded place, they still met your expectations.
Right.
Okay.
At least 3 times when I'm settled and I have like my food, my beer, or whatever things that I want, they should at least come by 3 times. You good?
Nice.
You know what they did? You know what they did at a sports bar.
Yep.
But I wasn't there to like watch like a whole game or anything like that. I was just seeing what's going on and glad to be a part of the atmosphere. And I was wondering, are you guys gonna open up the second floor?
Yeah.
Because that place was packed, buddy.
Nice.
That place was packed. So, I would say Sports and Social. I would say that was good. That gets a
good job, Sports and Social.
Thumbs up. 5-star Uber rating.
Whoa. Okay.
I mean, that's my general thing. I give out 5 stars.
Do you?
I mean,
I'm so reluctant to give out bad stars because they know where they just dropped you off at.
Right.
And then they can come find you.
Right.
Like, oh, Steve gave me a 1 star.
I actually.
So I wait like weeks and weeks.
I actually don't put in my home address in there.
That's smart.
Yeah, because I don't. But it's like at the same time, it's dark, so it's like.
That's smart. I should start doing that.
I just put like the house right next to it.
Man. Anyways,
so that's my thing.
So they'll just murder that family.
Yeah. Oh man. So Friday when we went to Tin Lizzo's. That was the worst.
That was bad.
And the only reason why I wanted to go there, buddy, is just because it's not like I was like, man, I'm craving their tacos or anything like that.
Right.
It's like the same thing. The game was on, finished the podcast that day early, got it out there.
Right.
So I was somewhat done unless like promoting it online, which by the way, I promote the show. I'm the one that promotes the show, getting it out there to social media land. But it's like, that was terrible service.
Oh, it was terrible.
I had bad views of the TVs.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the thing about, so let me just say this. There was like a total of 7 people in there. It was just after lunch. I'm going to say around 2 o'clock. 2:30 maybe.
They only had like two wait people there.
But still, and the bartender. And then my thing is like this. Okay, so there's 7 people, but other 7 people, 3 tables it was groups of 2. So there was a total of 4 tables that were being waited on. We waited like 45 minutes just to get our food. And never came to offer refreshes of our drinks. And just terrible service.
It was.
And the food wasn't even all that.
And then it was funny when we got our orders in, then another waitress came up. She's like, "Are you guys good?
Yeah, can I take your order?"
And I'm like,
"Wow."
Yeah, like we already got that established. Yeah, I had to wait long. I'm not going back to Tin Lizzo's in a while.
Yeah, I'm done with Tin Lizzo's.
I mean, it'll probably be one of those things like 6 months later. It's like, oh man, let's go there.
See, if I was like your old former boss, I probably would have like tweeted something stupid, but yeah, I just thought that.
Which boss are you talking about? I've had a lot of them.
Yeah, one that just tends to use Twitter as her personal account to try to get freebies.
Oh, okay, that one. Okay, well, moving on. Then that night, because I work in Midtown, I live up in the Roswell, Alpharetta area. So usually on Friday nights, I go to, if I want to, start the weekend off. I shouldn't really say start the weekend off, but it's like, if I just want to get a beer and something to eat, I usually end up in that Buckhead area because it's like the halfway point home.
Yeah, it's nice.
And it's like, that's the place where you have a lot of that stuff. Even though I could, if I really, really wanted to, I could do that in Dunwoody.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is I go check out this one bar that I like. I like the food.
The environment seems kind of cool.
Very young, so that's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Well, I go in there, and this is like 8 o'clock at night.
Prime time.
That bar is packed.
Yeah.
And it's so small, too.
It is small.
It's so small. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
But it's like I like the food, so I don't really want to mention them by name, but it was kind of like, I walk in there, it's packed out. It looks like hipsters are us, so I was just like, or young people are us. Like, out of my, well,
they weren't necessarily there for the games.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I mean, they were just standing around drinking and just hanging out with friends because it's Friday. So I go to another bar that I like there in Buckhead, and this was like my staple for a while. This was like my wings place.
Okay.
So I go there, and I don't drive, so I take the train and I do ride share. So that took me, I don't know, it was like a 15-minute walk from the other place.
Cool.
Which I hate doing that on Friday. Cause,
it's crazy out there.
Yeah, because I'm kind of just like, I just want to get my food. I just want to get my chill time, then go.
Yeah.
So I get there. They're packed. And I'm just like, what is it about this thing that it's like just packs out bars? Maybe all the people like me, that it's like they want to see something, and the only place they're going to do it is at a bar. Maybe because it's like they have so many things going on that it's like...
Sure.
comment on this. Why, if you think you know why people just pack out bars during this tournament, I was surprised at 8:30-ish at night that I get it during like dinner time and stuff, but I'm still surprised that it's like 8:30, 9-ish, like places were still packed in that area.
I think I know. I think what it is about March Madness and the NCAA tournament, as opposed to other sports venues, is that you've got so many schools involved that the high likelihood that someone is associated with that school. Like for instance, me being from California,
you could have been like no. You could have been a UC Irvine alum.
Right.
I actually knew someone that went to UC Irvine.
So I think that's why, unlike a college football playoffs, there's only going to be 4 teams.
Yeah. You're only going to have like a huge two fan bases.
Right. So I think that might be part of it because it's the only tournament that's got that many teams.
Right, that many teams going on all at once. That makes sense. I was still like I said, I was a little surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be, but especially in Buckhead.
True.
That's why I stay home.
That's why you stay home. And make your pizza.
Because I hate people.
But anyways, I think when I get married, that'll probably change. But I'm just like embracing the moment.
Sure.
I mean, you're only young once. It was that type of thing. That service was okay. It's just the only bad part was they were just packed.
Yeah.
And so you didn't really could get the people's attention. I ordered barbecue wings, which by the way, this place is Barbecue Wings. It's the bucket shop right across the street from Lenox Mall. In case you're curious, they have some of the best wings.
Yeah, their wings were good.
I mean, like but it's like don't get the regular wings. Go outside of their different flavors. The regular wings are okay, but it's like I feel like the thing that does it is their different flavored wings. So
have you ever tried the what's the one called lemon pepper?
I've tried that. Yeah,
good?
I'm not a fan of lemon pepper. Though.
Lemon pepper is like the wing flavor of Atlanta.
Oh, I'm not a fan of lemon pepper.
Yeah.
So
lemon pepper.
Yeah, someone killed lemon pepper for me on it. Yeah, just on chicken. So, anyways, I order their barbecue wings, which I like barbecue wings.
Good.
And instead of giving me barbecue wings, they give me like the teriyaki wings.
Oh.
Which
that's not great service.
Which yeah, I didn't complain about it. And stop. Dang, I just.
So you didn't complain.
I didn't complain. Sometimes, guys, I just play with things, and I played with the mic stand right there. Yeah, I didn't complain. I mean, I didn't complain about it because I'm kind of just like. It's like when I got my order screwed up for the Super Bowl thing.
Yeah.
It's like now I have to wait X minutes to get it done. When you screw up my order, I'm actually the type of person that I'll actually try it to see if it's good. If it's not good, or it's like I don't like it, yeah, that's when I'll be like, hey, you actually screwed up my order.
Yeah.
That's when I'll get to that point.
No, it makes sense.
But I'm kind of like, okay, you screwed up my order. Okay, I'll still I'll still pay for it and everything like that. Let me just try this out.
Gotcha.
And they were actually pretty decent. I don't think I'll get them again.
Yeah.
But they're actually pretty decent.
Teriyaki's
it's a refined taste.
I mean, you're right. It's hit and miss. I mean, some places do great teriyaki, but unless you're going to like a Japanese place, I wouldn't recommend ordering teriyaki. Go to a Japanese place and get some teriyaki, and it's like, whoa,
teriyaki wings?
You can get teriyaki wings, you can get teriyaki whatever, but it's off the chain.
I mean, there's that Vietnamese place that I go with my friends off Pat Mill in Smyrna.
What's it called? Hung Lo, right? Hung Long.
Yeah. Yeah, right across the street from your secret society.
Hung Long. Far Long.
I'm giving up your secret society's location.
Yeah, please don't. We're in the basement of Hung Long.
There's actually a Vietnamese place in downtown Atlanta that has like a huge basement, like from street level.
Yeah.
I mean, I swear it's like the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Like it looks so small and so packed all the time. Then you go down to the basement and you're just like, wow, this is a really chill place.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but yeah, and then yesterday I went to a place in Atlantic Station. There really wasn't a sports bar. It was kind of like their barbecue and seafood place. But they had a TV, and I asked them to turn to the tournament, and that service I feel like was good. So yeah, I went from good to terrible to okay to back to good.
Gotcha.
That was yeah. And
But to be fair, it is tournament weekend, so
right.
I will say this. I don't know about your other places that you went to because I didn't go with you on any of the locations, but it just sounds like it wasn't super terrible.
Mm-mm.
But that Tin Lizzo's was
the worst.
There was no reason for them to be that bad because there was nobody in there.
Right.
Like I get busy.
It was so bad that when I wanted a refill, I had to go up to the bar to get it.
And that's how bad it was.
That's how bad it was, guys.
And there was nobody there. That's the thing about it. Again, this is not like, it wasn't like some dive area where there's hardly any traffic. This is in the heart of Midtown.
Right. Near Colony Square.
Right off Peachtree. And people who know Tin Lizzo's, I won't even justify saying its entire name. And so there was, like I said, there wasn't that many people. And then the two of the 7 people were already had their check. So it was just no reason for them to not be able to serve. But yeah.
Well, yep, that's because when I was at the other sports bar on Friday, I was like, I need to talk about this in the podcast.
Yeah.
That it's like something weird happens with sports, and I guess this is probably like the biggest sporting event. The biggest sporting event after the Super Bowl happens.
I will tell you that my love for the tournament began
when you won a lot of money.
No. When I went to I was living near Philadelphia, and I went to a Philadelphia bar during March Madness because my friend's sister wanted to just go party and had nothing to do with March Madness. And we were there for to see a band, but they also had the TV on. There was this TV on. It was the first time that I actually paid attention to it, and I think Stanford was playing. And I was like, oh, and it was just a cool, that just set it off for me. Like the vibe, it was crowded. It was very cool. There's nothing like an East Coast bar. I'm going to tell you that. I'm putting it out there right now.
Interesting. East Coast sports bar?
East Coast sports bar. It wasn't a sports bar, I don't think. It was a bar because they had there was a band there too. It was called, I can't remember. But it was wall-to-wall people. I love the East Coast.
Nice.
I'll tell you the things I love about the East Coast, and then we'll get back. The bars and the house parties. So fun.
Sounds like fun. Well, with that's running out of time here. But before we bring Ned on, just to let you know, if you listen to the advertisement with Spaces, you just use promo code Alex on a 6-month or more 12-month deal for a designated desk or a private office, and you get 15% off. So take advantage of that deal that's going on right now. It's going to end soon, like next month, right?
Yeah. So take advantage of it while you can.
Yeah. I heard the next one might be the next sales pitch might be promo code Choi.
No.
Okay, well, you heard that one. So yeah, take advantage of that great deal going on at Spaces right now. And if you like that conversation, because we're just two dudes talking about sports bars that's relevant to the NCAA tournament, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We want to hear about your weekend with navigating sports bars with the NCAA tournament, because, I mean, that's the place to be right now with the tournament going on. So be sure to put that in the comment section. But right now, to break down all the action that happened with the NCAA tournament, including that thriller with Duke UNC, we just want to bring on to the ATL box score right now, Mr. Ned Kasich. So that conversation is coming up next. I'm Alex Berger. Alongside me is Steve Choi, and now this is our conversation with Mr. Ned Kasich. Now we just want to bring on Mr. Ned Kasich, our college basketball guy, and because it was the tournament this whole weekend, that was the main headline in the sports world, was the tournaments from Thursday to last night. We had a lot of great games. And Ned, I just want to know, did you survive yesterday? Because are you still having PTSD of that ball rolling the other way? Like thinking about if that ball rolled the other way, the Duke season was over.
Yeah, I mean, every time I see that highlight since last night, I still feel like that tip is going to go in. You know, it feels like There's no way it should have rolled off the rim, but it did. And you know, sometimes you got to be lucky to win in March, and Duke did that. And you know, I mean, it was one of those games where, I mean, Duke played well, and UCF played just as well. You know, I mean, you know, sometimes Duke will win a close game. You know, kind of like they did against Wake in a similar fashion late in the year, you know, where they don't play well and they catch a break. But I think this was a case where Duke played at a high level and UCF matched it for, you know, the entire 40 minutes.
Right. You were talking on the podcast at the beginning of the year, actually, that you thought UCF was one of the teams to look out for in the American Conference. And who knew that they would make it this far and have a chance to upset the Blue Devils?
Yeah, and, you know, one reason I really like UCF is their head coach, Johnny Dawkins, and, you know, for guys who know the kind of lineage of Duke, he came into that 1986 class. It was him and Jay Billis and Tommy Amaker and a couple others, and that was the first time, you know, Coach K had recruited elite talent, and they took Coach K to his first Final Four. And then Dawkins was the number one assistant for Coach K for 10 years, you know, won the 2001 national championship while there. You know, then he went to Stanford and now he's at UCF. But, you know, I mean, he's a fantastic coach who knows the game at a really high level. His son, Aubrey Dawkins, who went off for, I think, 32 points last night.
Dang.
You know, he's from Duke. You know, I mean, he grew up in that Duke program, being around it. So he knew that game meant a lot to him. And they've just got a lot of experience. I mean, you know, we talk about Dawkins, he's a junior. Talk about B.J. Taylor, he's a senior. Taco Fall obviously got a lot of headlines. He's a senior. So it was just really an experienced team who had a good coach, you know, great coach who, you know, played a tough schedule. And they played well, and I think it paid off, you know, being a point away, a tip away, a bounce away from moving on to the Sweet 16.
Two thoughts kind of come up. One, do you feel like because Mr. Dawkins had that experience with Duke, knowing Coach K's system, knowing what he likes to do you feel like that's one of the reasons why this game was so close? Obviously, too, he has the athletes to back it up. And another thing, too, because I thought when I heard Coach K's remarks after the game, I thought he was just being like a politician, saying, "Oh, this should have been a win from them," and all that like song and dance you do and everything like that. But now it seems like he was saying that out of respect. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so just starting with the second part, I mean, he means that. I mean, it's 100%, and like I said, I mean, people who know the Duke program, and if you've listened to me this year, you know I'm a Duke guy through and through. I mean, Johnny Dawkins was, for so long, he was expected to be the next head coach at Duke. I mean, people thought Coach K is going to retire and Johnny Dawkins is going to take over and nothing's going to change. And the reality was, Coach K coached 10, 15 years longer than a lot of people expected. So Dawkins went to Stanford, and he had some success there. They got in the tournament a few times. But since he's been at UCF, I mean, he's really doing a great job. Taking advantage of a mid-major team who's still in a competitive conference like the AAC. So yeah, I mean, that game was tough. I mean, I don't think either coach, really was excited to have to go against each other, because they knew obviously somebody's season was going to end. And then, I mean, Aubrey Dawkins, you got to imagine that game meant so much to him. I mean, growing up within that,
Right.
he didn't get offered by Duke, and maybe that was on his mind a little bit, but just the pedigree of wanting to show out for, a program that you've been around for essentially your whole life. And then on the second part, I mean, they had a fantastic game plan on defense. If you watch the game, I mean, you saw Taco Fall was just guarding whatever Duke player they felt like couldn't shoot the three ball, and they were letting him shoot the three ball, and Taco Fall was just hanging in the paint looking to stop any drives. And that really threw Duke off, because they had some guys shooting threes who, aren't great three-point shooters, and they shot the three ball fairly well. I mean, I think they finished just under 50%. But it was a really great game plan, and back and forth, for a while. Coach K was playing Goldwire and Trey Jones to really put the pressure on UCF, and it created some turnovers. But then on the flip side, Goldwire's not a great offensive player right now. So Taco Fall could let him shoot the three ball and basically play, with an extra defender on defense. So it was really a great game plan. Obviously, a guy like Dawkins had to play great. Taco Fall was, an absolute menace in there, disrupting shots, disrupting rebounds, drawing fouls. Ultimately, I think Duke's game plan was to attack Taco Fall to try to get him into foul trouble. And, that last drive that Zion had that fouled Taco out of the game, I mean, that was probably the play of the game, because that offensive rebound that Barrett gets on the missed free throw, he might not get that if Taco falls in the game. And that tip at the end, if Taco falls in the game 7-6, he's grabbing that rebound, he's dunking it right back. So, I think both teams had a game plan, executed the game plan well, had to make some changes on the fly, but it was really just an absolute classic of a college basketball game, and I would say easily the best game of the first 4 days.
Yeah, it seems like it's like that, even though you didn't see an upset. I think you just turned away all of our North Carolina listeners when you declared your allegiance. But other than that, looking at the tournament from a whole now, usually this first weekend, it's pretty much the underdogs just take down some of the big schools, and then it's like you get to this weekend that's coming up. This is more of a business type of atmosphere that the teams that have made it. This is where you kind of separate the pretenders from the contenders type of field this weekend. But at the same time, like, there were no huge upsets. Maybe, obviously, Murray State beating Marquette was like the biggest upset, but a lot of people kind of could see that coming with the talent like John Morant. And then it's like you had, going off what you were talking about, that Nevada should beat the Gators, but at the same time, like, the Gators aren't really one of those teams that you think about that are kind of like having a Cinderella story type of year, because they come out of a big conference like the SEC. So overall, if you went in on the favorites and logic, then your bracket this morning is looking pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt. And I heard a stat last night. I think I saw it on Twitter. First time in 10 years that all three number one seeds have advanced to the Sweet 16.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, right. And it's something we kind of talked about throughout the year. Is there weren't a ton of really good mid majors this year, and that shows because of the 16 Final Four teams, 14 of those 16 are from Power 5 conferences. With the other two being Gonzaga, who's not really a mid-major by any means, and Houston, who this year hasn't been a mid-major by any means.
Right.
So, I think it just, it speaks to the way the season has gone. Even Oregon, being the only 12 seed in the tournament, they've won 10 games in a row out of the Pac-12. So they're hot right now. They played the right basketball at the right time of the year, and it's gotten them to where they are. And, it certainly helped that UC Irvine upset Kansas State, so that was their second-round game. But UCF's playing really well. I mean, the ACC has 5 teams in the Sweet 16. The SEC has 4. The Big Ten has 2, and then Pac-12 and Big 12 each have 1. So the Power 5 conferences really dominated. The ACC and the SEC really dominated, kind of like we thought they might. And to be honest, the Pac-12 surprised me a little bit. Obviously, Oregon getting the Sweet 16. Arizona State won their first 4 game, and then Washington, won their first round game. So really all the Power 5 conferences, did pretty well. And like you said, I mean, it went pretty to chalk. I think the Murray State upset was maybe a surprise of how big, it was a 20-point game. But, like you said, I mean, John Morant is a special player. I believe he had a triple-double that game. So, when you have a player like that, you're going to have a chance to win. That being said, I mean, the good thing about when it goes to chalk is our Sweet 16 games are awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Absolutely awesome. Every team in there is a top 20 team in the country. And while we love the madness and we love the upsets in weekend 1, a lot of times that leads to a bunch of blowouts and bad games in weekend 2 when a 13 seed's playing, a 1 seed or whatever it may, or a 4 seed or whatever it may be. So I think it lines up for just a fantastic 4 days, starting on this Thursday.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, who wants to see Kansas play George Mason?
Right. Exactly.
So it's like you lose viewership in that too. But what's the game that you're most looking forward to watching this weekend?
Yeah, so the two that I think are going to be really exciting, and they're both out of the Midwest bracket, is the UNC Auburn game. Those are two teams that don't know, the term slow down. The winner of that game is probably going to be the first to 80 or 90. So that's just going to be a shootout, run and gun. Two teams who get up and down, are really athletic.
So that's going to be an IV game at the end of it.
Yes. I think UNC is a more talented team. I would expect UNC to win. But, I mean, Auburn's been playing well. And if Auburn can shoot the 3 ball at a high rate, 45, 50%, it's going to be tough for UNC. And UNC can shoot the ball well, but they're better off just getting up and down. After any made bucket, they're getting down the floor as quick as they can. And, there's no better guy to lead that offense than Kobe White. And they're going to go as Kobe White goes. But, Bryce Brown and Jared Harper versus Kobe White and Kenny Williams and Cam Johnson and Chumo Kiki for Auburn. I mean, there's star-studded players in that game, and I think that's just going to be an up-and-down dogfight. And kind of the same with the second Sweet 16 game in that Midwest with Houston and Kentucky. Again, two teams with a lot of guards. For Kentucky, they played these 2 games without P.J. Washington, who's one of their stud forwards. And, if they get him back, it's a Final Four championship-worthy team. And without him, they could still compete for a championship, but he really is an X factor. So,
right.
Him getting back will be interesting. Just touching on a couple others, Gonzaga, Florida State is a rematch of last year's Sweet 16 that Florida State won. LSU, Michigan State is going to be a dogfight. I think Michigan State may have the coaching edge there, and LSU maybe a little more talent. Obviously, Virginia Tech knocked off Duke earlier this year, so that's a rematch. Duke didn't have Zion in that game, but Virginia Tech didn't have Justin Robinson, their point guard, who's back now. So that game will be really interesting with basically the two best players on each team playing in this rematch. But, I mean, like I said, great games all around. Texas Tech, Michigan, that's going to be, again, another kind of Jared Culver, one of the best, most underrated players in this tournament, going against John Beilein, who's arguably the best coach in the NCAA tournament the last handful of years. And in the South bracket, UVA, Oregon, Purdue, Tennessee, Power 5 schools who've all had success, throughout the year.
Who do you see advancing out of all these games?
Yeah, so, out of the South, I still like Virginia. I think Virginia, Tennessee, it will be that game. Purdue loves Carl Edwards, and he went off for 42 points in the rout of Villanova. But I think Tennessee's going to have a better game plan. Villanova faded a little bit towards the end of the year. So, I like Virginia out of there. Virginia obviously had a questionable start against a 16 seed, but
right.
I think they're back to kind of who they are in playing their style. I think I like UNC out of the Midwest. I know I picked Kentucky in my bracket, but UNC's playing well, and I think Houston and Kentucky may beat up on each other a little bit, which may make it a tough next game for whoever comes out of there. I still like Florida State out of the West. Their depth, they took the top off of Murray State, and I think they're the most athletic of the four teams left in the West. And then I like Duke. I think Duke's going to have a challenge, obviously, with Virginia Tech and with the winner of LSU, Michigan State. But this Duke team seems to be on a mission. And the more games they get back with Zion and Marquise Bolden, the more flow and rhythm they're going to get. And I know they potentially only have 4 games left, but I still think they can get back to their midseason form where they were playing their best basketball.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With Duke, though, playing Virginia Tech, this is kind of funny how this always that. I know they probably don't design this tournament to play another person in your conference, but sometimes this is just the way the ball bounces. And Virginia Tech playing Duke, would you be surprised if Duke won by 20 points?
I'd be a little surprised. Virginia Tech plays a much slower pace, very methodical, obviously not as methodical as a Virginia, but they're going to slow the game down and make sure they have a lot of possessions and get deep in the shot clock and get their best looks. I don't know as a coach if you prefer to play a team in your conference in the tournament or you don't prefer to play a team in your conference, because obviously you guys know each other so well, both personnel and schemes. So, it makes it maybe a little bit easier to game plan, but it also makes it, more difficult because the other team's going to have a game plan for you. So, it's a little bit interesting. I would be surprised to see it be a blowout. Maybe, an 8 or 10 point game, but like I said, at this point in the tournament with these 16 teams left, it really, Oregon might be a stretch, and maybe LSU potentially, without Will Wade coaching them. But every other team I see, I feel like has a chance to compete for a championship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If Tennessee gets by Purdue and then plays Virginia, do you feel like Tennessee is still that dark horse team that can make it to the Final Four and possibly a national championship?
Yeah, I think they are a little bit of a dark horse in a sense that people know they're good, and they know Grant Williams is good, and they know Admiral Schofield is good, and they know that there's some good guard plays with Bone and those other guys. But I think people still just don't see Tennessee as a team that wins a basketball national championship. So in that sense, I think they're a dark horse. I don't think any team, Purdue or the winner of Virginia, Oregon, is going to take them lightly by any means. But I think to the general public, Tennessee going to the Final Four, I still think would surprise a fair amount of people.
Right. And then it's at the bottom bottom half of the bracket, kind of what we talked about, like the in the Midwest, where we talked about a potential, that Duke's playing a conference championship. I mean, not conference championship, a conference opponent, excuse me. And you have also, too, the winner of North Carolina. I would be really surprised if Kentucky lost to Houston. I know that Houston's a really good team. But at the same time, you have the potential there to see an SEC matchup with Kentucky and Auburn.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, Auburn's going to have to play their best game of the year. They had a dicey first-round game with New Mexico State. I think they probably overthought the game a little bit. Came out against Kansas and really dominated from the start of that game. But yeah, I mean, Auburn, Kentucky would be interesting. Kentucky beat them by 1 or 2 at Auburn, early in the year, when really Kentucky was playing at a higher level than Auburn was. But I mean, Auburn's hot right now. I mean, we talked about it, 4 SEC teams in the Sweet 16, and you don't win that conference without playing great basketball. And they knocked off Tennessee the last game of the regular season, and then again in the semifinals of the SEC tournament before they went on to win it. So, while, like I said, UNC is extremely talented, it's tough to pick against UNC the way they're playing, even as a Duke guy. But I think this Auburn team, has a real chance. They've got to, have a heavy focus on getting back in transition defense. And again, they need to shoot the 3-ball well. But it certainly could happen with Auburn and Kentucky, and that would be really interesting. That one might be a little bit different because, Bruce Pearl's a little bit newer to the conference than Virginia Tech's head coach Bonus Williams is. But, again, it wouldn't be surprising to see 2 SEC teams and potentially 3 SEC teams, in the Elite Eight and 2 in the Final Four.
Since you like UNC, that also, too, it could, that would most likely have North Carolina and Kentucky going at it. And I think that would be must-see TV. That game, so that's on the 29th. I'm just seeing if this game, if the next road game's going to be okay. Yeah, so that game, if Kentucky played UNC, that would be on a Sunday. So that would be pretty entertaining.
Yeah, and those 2 teams played earlier in the year, and Kentucky beat them. I can't remember the final score. I think they won by 6 or 8. But that was really before UNC was the UNC we see now. I mean, we talked earlier in the year, and UNC was kind of putting it together, and they needed some guys to really step up and play the level that they were recruited to, and that the program expected them to play at. And they have. I mean, since the midseason point, UNC's maybe been the best team in the country. And Duke's been battling the injuries. Gonzaga's been kind of quiet on the West Coast. Virginia did beat UNC, but, had a couple falters and lost to Duke twice, and UNC beat Duke twice, Zion with. But, UNC, they've just been playing great basketball. I mean, they ran Washington out of the gym, and I know the Pac-12's been down, but Washington, won that conference and has a good team, a good coach. But UNC really just imposed their will on them there.
John Morant, which NBA team do you think that his skill set would be good for?
I think any team would be happy to take him, and I think he's likely, barring, maybe a senior or junior going off, all the way to the Final Four and having an unbelievable tournament. I think John Morant's likely to go behind Zion Williamson in the draft. I mean, he's a guy who does it all. He can score the ball, he can elevate, he's explosive, he can shoot it, well, and he'll continue to shoot it better once you get in the league. He passes the ball at a high level, and I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5". I mean, so he's a good sized NBA guard that I think you can plug in really any spot. If you need a point guard, he can play your point guard. If you need a 2 guard, he can play your 2 guard. He can be your second unit point guard. Whatever it is, I think he's a top 3 draft pick, and I don't think necessarily his skill set is determinant on who's going to pick him.
Because I'd like to see him in an Atlanta uniform, just me personally.
I wouldn't mind seeing him either. And speaking of the Atlanta uniform, the latest mock draft I saw had the Hawks taking Texas Tech star player Jarrett Culver. So if all our Hawks and ATL fans, be sure to tune in when Texas Tech plays Michigan. Jarrett Culver, he's number 23. He's 6'6" wing guy who handles the ball a lot for them, like you see in college. And he's a guy who is just a scorer. And I think he would plug in well with what the Hawks got going with Young and Collins and a couple of those other young guys.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's another guy to pay attention to. Since the Hawks are trying to get another top flight draft pick out of college.
Oh, and hopefully get two of those with that Mavs pick we got.
Right, absolutely. Just to kind of close out the conversation, the biggest controversy was the Tom Izzo thing. So for people that aren't aware of that situation, can you just explain that situation?
Yeah, so essentially in Michigan State's first round game against Bradley, it was pretty tight throughout, and Bradley had the lead by one at halftime. And at some point, I can't remember exactly when in the game, it was certainly still a close game at that point. It was a TV timeout, and the Michigan State guys were walking to the bench, and Tom Izzo, I mean, it's something we don't see a lot of Tom Izzo, going kind of after a player in the sense of really getting on him. He met him at midcourt. It took a couple of the veterans on Michigan State to hold Izzo back and basically say, hey, we got it. We're good. Let's stay engaged with them. And, it floated through Twitter and all the social medias. And, a lot of people were saying, that's the old school way to coach, and you can't do that anymore. And it's a bad look. And who would want to go play for this coach? And everyone's certainly entitled to their right. And I think the way really all sports are coached these days is a little bit different than it was back then.
Right.
But I think people who know basketball, and not even necessarily, college or Izzo or anything, they know the intensity that college basketball coaches coach with. And when you're a college basketball coach or again, any basketball coach, and your roster comprises of only about 12 guys, you've got a really personal relationship with all those guys.
Right.
And the guy, the target and the victim, or depending on how you're looking at it, was Aaron Henry, who's a freshman on this Michigan State team. And, after the game, Izzo said, and his players backed him up on this, he said he wasn't giving effort, and he wasn't playing defense the way a championship-worthy team plays defense. And that's what he got after him for. It wasn't for missing a shot. It wasn't for turning the ball over. It wasn't for, anything he did with his style of play. It was his effort and for, really his lack of effort. And, he's a freshman, and this is his first NCAA tournament. And, Michigan State's a relatively young team. I know they have a handful of juniors, but they really only have one senior. And so I think it was just Izzo's way of saying, hey, this is a 15 seed, but you got one chance in the NCAA tournament. And if you don't play with great effort and you don't play the way a Michigan State team plays and the way Tom Izzo expects his guys to play, you're going to hear about it. And Scott Van Pelt did something about it on his one big thing. And, he made a good point where it's any job. If you don't do your job at the level you're expected to do it, you're going to get reprimanded. And not every job is on national TV, on CBS for the whole world to see when the NCAA tournament's going on. Maybe you're in the office and you don't get your report in on time. Your boss may come in and be stern and yell at you a little bit. And it doesn't mean you have to like it, but that's the way the business works. And, when you run a program, a high-level program like Michigan State does, you've got to have those expectations. And Aaron Henry, I don't know if I said this yet, he played 29 minutes in that game. So it wasn't let's yell at this kid and put him on the bench for the rest of the game. It was, hey, we need this kid if we're going to win this game, if we're going to make a push in the tournament. I need him to understand how to play at this level. And to me, again, I'm a coach in the area. I coach lacrosse, not basketball. But, the way his other players stepped up and basically told Izzo, hey, calm down. We got this. He knows. We'll talk to him. That speaks volumes about Izzo. The way that he can develop that leadership out of his older guys, out of his players, out of guys who are in that program and love playing for him and love going to work every day for him. So, while the image or the video might not look great,
right?
I think if you really understand sports, you understand basketball, you understand the intensity of this tournament, that's going to happen. And it's going to be a little more spotlighted this time of year. But, I think if you ask Aaron Henry, if he's glad that they won that game instead of not being yelled at and continuing to give bad effort and losing to a 15 seed, I think he would say, I'm glad Coach Izzo got on me and I realized I needed to turn things around.
It's such a heat of the moment type of thing because, first of all, that since it's on TV, it's a produced type of situation.
Right.
So you have like a lot of cameras going on there, and you have and I don't mean to sound stupid to people that don't understand TV, but it's like you have producers in a control center that has a monitor on every camera. So it's like when you see something like that, it's like automatically go to there, go to what that coach is saying. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in football. It's like,
yep.
And I've noticed just being around high school programs that whatever happens on game day happens, and it's nothing personal or anything like that.
Right, and you hope that your guys want to win the game as much as you do, and you hope even a little bit more. And to your point about the production, that's a great point because if you were watching the game live, it was a TV timeout. They were showing Michigan State go to the bench, and they showed Izzo, go get in Henry's grill or go towards him. And then when they came back from the commercial break, they had filmed the Michigan State huddle, and Izzo had again kind of gone after him, challenging him, getting in his face a little bit, yelling and screaming. Never put his hands on him, but just getting after him. And when you come back from the timeout, and people are kind of thinking, man, did you see Izzo yell at that guy going into commercial break? And then you come back from the commercial break and you see it again. It stays in your mind more, and it becomes a little more fresh. And there's another 8 seconds to put on Twitter and get your opinion across, whichever it may be. So. You're right, 100%. The production crew not necessarily made it worse, but made it, more seen.
Right. And it's kind of like you don't know what was said to that kid. I mean, he could have been like, "You're better than this," and you're letting them take advantage of you.
Exactly.
It could have been
and
like
I think that's the other thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like I know that it's like developing a close bond, and especially today and age, where it's like a lot of your athletes come from broken homes. You need to establish and you could probably attest to this, Ned, that you need to establish a thing, a mindset that we're a family, that we all love each other, that we all want to see the best for each other. But at the same time, we all want to see each other be successful and win a championship.
Right. I mean, no doubt about that. And what the cameras don't see is, how Izzo works with these guys from July until, they lose their tournament game, right? And we've never seen if, Henry's had a bad day and Izzo's walked up and given him a hug in practice and said, hey, keep your head up. It's coming tomorrow, right? And so then, when you develop those kind of personal relationships, and I mean, you're Tom Izzo and you've been doing this for as long as you've been doing it, and you've had the success, that you've had, and you've got all these great players who want to play for you and do well at the next level. I mean, it speaks to who you are as a coach, but certainly as a man and as a leader and as a father figure for these kids.
Right.
And, who hasn't been yelled at by their dad, and sometimes you need it. And, I mean, like I said, Henry played so much after that, and he played well, and he played hard, and you saw him getting back on defense. And, he had a handful of turnovers, but again, it didn't seem that Izzo was getting on him for his turnovers or lack of scoring production. It was an effort thing, and that's something, as a coach myself, I tell my kids every day, give us effort and enthusiasm. If we can get those two things, we can go from there. Effort, enthusiasm, energy. You don't have to have any skill to do those three things, and I think that's, what frustrates coaches like Izzo is when you see a talent like Henry who's, maybe not given his best in the effort category, which is such a simple category. You can get on him for that.
Yeah, great points. I feel like we could just do like a whole segment on this, honestly, on this discussion.
We could, and if you really want a full discussion on it, just go to Twitter and you can see everybody in the whole world's opinion about it.
Yeah, because this has been a lot of Friday when it happened was a lot of talking points about what that happened and everything like that, and
yeah, and so actually, just quick correction with you is it happened Thursday, which was almost worse than it happening Friday, because then Friday morning, there were no big upsets on Thursday,
right.
So that's what a lot of these, podcasts and radio shows and ESPN Sports Center. I mean, that's what a lot of these shows led with was Izzo getting on his player, which I think just put it even a little bit more in the forefront of everyone's mind.
Right. I mean, if this is like, because I grew up watching sports in the 90s, and you saw this all the time in college basketball, in college football, and everything like that. If this is the worst thing that's happened in since the 90s, let's just put it that way. You had coaches like Bob Knight that would throw a chair because he was pissed at a ref. So
I agree.
Go ahead.
I agree 100% with that. And, it's a different game now. It's not the 90s. These players are raised a little bit differently. And you certainly have to change your ways as a coach. But that being said, this has never happened with Izzo before. It's not like here goes Izzo again, getting after one of his players. Here goes Bob Knight again, doing this, doing that. I mean, Izzo has the utmost respect of everybody around the college basketball game, from coaches to players to media, to whoever it may be. And so, you say heat of the moment, and that's certainly right. But it's also, you have to have that intensity as a coach sometimes. And sometimes you got to let your players know, hey, I want this win. Can you guys match my want and my will to try to win this game? Because ultimately I can only do so much from the sideline. You guys have to make plays. You guys have to give the effort. You guys have to play with the energy for us to move on and spend another day, with this group of guys.
I even saw something on Facebook one time where it was about college football, and they showed a bunch of head coaches just chewing out players. And I can't really say what the whole caption was on air, but it's if you want to win championships, you have to go through some butt chewings.
Yeah, and I mean, that's absolutely right, and that's that's beyond sports. That's kind of just life. I mean, sometimes someone's going to tell you how it is when you don't want to hear it.
Right.
And again, like I said, I mean, Malik Henry played hard the rest of that game, and the way he responded to that speaks about his relationship and his respect for Coach Izzo, and understanding, hey, this guy's probably right. I got to change the way I'm playing my mindset of this game, because it's not guaranteed that we'll win. It's not guaranteed I'll be on the floor. Nothing's guaranteed at this time of the year. So you've got to really, really understand the importance of it. And, it is what it is. It's obviously, every sport's a little bit different with the coaching style, and with any sport it's different. I mean, I think if you look at college football, and, if you look at the way Dabo Swinney coaches his team, you look at the way Nick Saban coaches his team, at least certainly the way it's portrayed on TV during game days, it's very different.
Right.
But you wouldn't say either of those coaching styles is a bad coaching style, because they both get the job done. But every group's going to be different. Every team culture is going to be different, and every expectation and demands of a coach is going to be a little bit different.
Right. Yeah. Seeing your behavior on game day is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
And a lot of these coaches, it's what they do in practice, which allows them to have that intensity in games, right? It's because, you have that intensity in practice. And so for these players, hey, that's nothing different, right? I was being lazy in practice on Saturday. Coach got in me. I'm being lazy in the game on Thursday. Coach is getting after me. That's how it is. That's how this program is. And so absolutely. I mean, there's not CBS cameras at every Michigan State practice, but there's going to be at every Michigan State tournament game, and they, sometimes that's going to happen.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you, Ned, for sharing your opinions and your predictions. And I would like to continue to have this conversation, but we don't have the time to do that. So where can we reach you at on social media?
Yeah, find me on Twitter. It's at the real Ned Kasich. Speaking of which, I actually did retweet a thought that somebody had about the Izzo situation, so I put it out there on my timeline. So if you want to know where I stand, and if you can't tell, it's sometimes hard coaching is okay. I put that out there. But yeah, find me on Twitter at the real Ned Kasich.
It depends on the kid too, sometimes too. Obviously, you know that. So, yeah, okay, cool. Well, thank you, Ned, for coming on the show today, and I really enjoyed you breaking down college basketball. So,
absolutely, and enjoy it because this weekend's over. We're down to only 3 more games, so enjoy the basketball. And like I said, it should be some really high level basketball with the 16 teams that have advanced.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you, Ned. I don't know if you heard, but Georgia this past Saturday was in full pads. I like what there's a video out there that put on by Georgia, obviously to gain interest in the program from recruits and stuff, and to show them this is how it is to play D1 ball in the SEC. So you had Jeremiah Holloman, because I think this is how it goes with Georgia. That I just moved the mic again accidentally. I think this is how it goes with Georgia, that you usually have an upperclassman because Kirby Smart, obviously they want upperclassmen to lead a lot of the things with the program, and they have like an upperclassman always talking about they always have an upperclassman saying, hey, it's time to get to work, and before practice starts. Well, Jeremiah Holloman said it's like, hey, today we're in full pads, so there should be no complaining that we can do everything today, which I thought was good to hear that from to see a guy like that start to get a lot of leadership under him, because I mean he's going to be one of the guys that's going to have to will the team to win. So Georgia was in full pads on Saturday. So I'm surprised they're going that fast to full pads on. Well, I guess they usually do that type of stuff, but yeah. So with that, this is the ATL Boxscore Podcast. Glad that you guys could listen to us, and Brave season is about to start. We are going to have one last Atlanta Braves profiles, players, and players. By the way, too, we're also changing it up because we usually have Mike on the show to talk about NBA on Mondays. We're actually going to have him on Wednesdays, so stay tuned for that, and to check back with us Wednesday afternoon, because we'll have your NBA discussion and thoughts on what's going on in the NBA, because Atlanta Hawks doing really good for the beginning of the season. Kind of reminds me of the of the Braves back in 2016 when there was no chance they were going to make the playoffs, but they ended up being the hottest team in baseball for that time when they closed down Turner Field. So yeah, I think the Hawks are kind of in a little bit similar situation. Not saying they're the best team or the hottest team right now in the NBA, but it seems like they're going through a similar thing. So with that, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, especially if you like this podcast. We are the ATL Box Score, and we're on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So be sure to check us out, show us some love there. Also show us some love in the comment section, what you thought about the Duke game, what what you think is going to happen in the tournament. What was your situation like with the sports bar scene this past weekend? So put that all in the comment section, and because we'd love to hear what you guys are thinking, what you guys are saying, what's on your mind. So put that in the comment section. Thanks for listening to us today. Really appreciate it. And thanks for joining us. If it was in your ride home from work, in traffic, or just working out, or whatever you're doing, we appreciate that you're listening to us. And yeah, the best way to do that is to like, subscribe, or comment to help us out. Also, too, if you are interested in, because this program is run on donations, if you're interested in making a donation, that is in the show description. Or you're interested in Spaces or Regis, that's also in the comment section. So be sure to look that stuff up in the comment section. All that information is going to be in the comment section. Well, with that, this is episode 42. Let me make sure we're at 42 episodes before I broadcast that information out, which I kind of just did. So, yeah, we are at, man, I'm not getting an accurate reading with that one. Wait, I just checked. This is actually episode 43. So episode 43 is out.